the ground shake.
Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Page Media, where we amplify underrepresented voices and turn pages into platforms. Today, we are diving into our Fatherhood, Healing, and Legacy series. I'm so excited to introduce Dwayne S. Joseph, father of three and author of The Chronicles of Mateo Stevens, a cinematic YA superhero series that blends action, emotion, and high stakes storytelling and the suspense thriller In Strict Confidence. Through his work, Dwayne crafts stories about identity, resilience, friendship, and the choices that define who we become. After a 12-year hiatus from writing, he returned with renewed passion and purpose. And today we get to find out why. Welcome, Dwayne. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are
Believe me,
welcome.
it's an
So,
honor.
if I didn't mention anything, you want to take a moment to introduce yourself? Anything beyond the bio?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. I mean, father, author, I work,
Do it all.
dealing with life, dealing with the teenagers and all the stress that we as parents have to deal with. So,
Yeah,
um,
teens are fun age.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I only have one. He's in his last teen year now. My other two are out of the teenage years, but those teenage years leave a mark.
Exactly. Well, let's just dive into it, right? So, what started you on the path of writing, and when did you first realize storytelling was something you had to do?
I have been writing since I was probably 15. I started
Wow.
reading when I was 13, started with science fiction, and I fell in love with books and stories since then. And I have a box in it with a story that I did back then, and I did a mock cover, and it says, Dwayne S. Joseph, Master of Horror Fiction, and I still have that. So I've been writing, yeah, since I was like 14, 15. It's just I just fell in love with reading, and I love stories, love storytelling, and I've been doing it ever since.
Do you recall that first book that made you fall in love with reading? And
Yes. It was the Mission Earth series, book number 9, hardcover,
oh
um,
wow,
by L. Ron Hubbard. Um, my dad took me about to the bookstore. I think it was a Borders at that time, or maybe it was Walden Books. Walked in there, and I saw this cover, and I just thought it was really cool. I didn't even care that it was book number 9. I just thought the cover was cool, and my dad bought it for me. I bought the book, I read it, and I went back and subsequently I've read, 1 through, I think there may be 13 in the series. I don't remember now, but I have them all. I still have them,
wow.
to this day. But that was the very first book, and then from there it was science fiction. I devoured science fiction. Then I fell into horror fiction, and from horror fiction it was mystery suspense, and then everything else from there.
That's awesome. It's neat when you can remember that
Yeah,
moment that just like set your trajectory, right?
yeah, yeah. It was so. And I know he's known for was it Dianetics, right? L.
hmm
Ron Hubbard. But this is just straight fiction, and it was so funny, and the characters were memorable. I mean, it was just, yeah, I just completely fell in love with it.
That's awesome. So you said you had told me that your dad has a saying, forward ever, backwards never. How did that phrase shape the way you parent your children?
Because it's about saying, things happen, things come up, mistakes are made, and you can't linger on it, right? You can't linger on it. It's just about, let's move forward and let's not go back. So, no matter what has happened, you really try to have to, you kind of have to let the past be the past, and
Okay.
move on. And it's something you apply whether it's with mistakes, whether it's, issues you have with friends and friendships and dramas and, okay, we had issues, now let's reconcile and now let's move forward and let's not go back there. But it's really about trying to let the past stay the past, not regretting, not lingering and thinking about mistakes that you've made. Just keep moving forward.
Okay, good. Is
Right.
that something that's always, do you think it's always been easy to do, or is it's been
No,
challenging at times?
no, it's never easy. I mean, we're human, right?
Right.
One of my fatal flaws, I hold grudges. So, learning to let things go is not always easy. Um, but it's necessary,
Yep.
because as I've experienced in my life, when you don't let things go, um, it festers, right? And
Yep.
it becomes a poison within you. And the only person you're actually hurting, because the other person's already let it go,
Mm-hmm.
the only person that is really you're hurting is yourself.
Yep.
And I've learned that. I mean, you kind of have to. It's not easy, but it is necessary. And sometimes you don't even realize that you're holding on to things, until one day something happens and the conversation is had, and then you're like, oh wait, I thought I let that go, and I guess I
Right.
really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not easy, but it's a constant practice. And like I said, I hold grudges. That's one of my fatal flaws that I'm trying to get better at, and so
That's the most important part. Like, you recognizing it and you're attempting to make the change, right? Like, it's
yeah,
one thing to just say, okay, well, that's who I am and not make a change, but you're recognizing that you're attempting. So that's
yeah,
important.
yeah.
Got to take the wins where we have them, where we can get them, right?
Right, right. You have to. I mean, and when you do let things go, and you do take those steps forward, you realize, sometimes it's almost immediate how much better you feel.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of like, oh wow, I didn't realize I had that weight on my shoulders unnecessarily. I could have let that go a long time ago.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Now, I mentioned earlier you took a 12-year hiatus from writing before returning with renewed purpose. What finally called you back, and what did that return teach you about resilience?
Um, it was a conversation I had with someone I know who's in the industry. Um, and there was a potential opportunity to do some things. And it just kind of it 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 excited writing. Like, I've always, in those 12 years, I've kind of, always had stories in my head, or I would start something and then put it down and leave it alone.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, the Mateo series, book one, I actually wrote 10 years ago,
Oh, wow.
and put it, and I had plans to put it out. I was fired up, and then I just put it down. Um, but it was just the conversation and the potential opportunity to do something. It didn't go full, carry through, but in the process, I worked on something, and it just kind of, it was like I realized how much I missed writing, because it
Okay.
really it's a part of me. I think I did a post the other day, um, referencing that it doesn't matter, how many people do buy the book, don't buy the book, how many people do post reviews, don't post the reviews. Um, Sometimes I'll have those questions of why am I doing it? Why
Right.
am I doing it? If they're not posting reviews to let people know what they're thinking, or if sales aren't what you want them to be, why am I doing it? Why am I wasting my time? And it's like, yeah, it's a part of me. Whether,
Hmm.
I just, the stories are there, um, and I just have to do it. And this is going to sound, um, and I don't mean for this to sound arrogant, but it's something that we should all have, because we should all be our own cheerleaders. And I'm really good at it.
Hmm.
And if you, I mean, you have to be your own cheerleader, right?
Yeah,
So, and if you don't believe that, then why are you wasting your time doing it?
exactly. If you
So,
don't believe in yourself, ain't nobody else
yeah,
gonna believe in you.
yeah. So, I love writing. I'm damn good at it, and whether I get a New York Times bestseller or I have to put it out. I mean, I'll get at least one or two people that will love it, and
Right, exactly.
so,
Exactly. I agree with you there. So you write about identity, resilience, and the choices that define who we become. How much of that is autobiographical?
well, I write about everything. Which so I've only ever had one story in all this time that I've written that's it's not even been autobiographical. It's just kind of that I took a lot
Okay.
from past. Um, but it's 99% of the other books are all it's I incorporate life. When I was doing relationship drama, my relationship drama books, you throw in, whether it's issues you have with former girlfriends, boyfriends, wives, husbands that you have. You take things from your marriage in there, your friendships,
Yep.
my friends' friends, and um, I just incorporate all of that into what I'm doing. But it's and then that's the relationship drama side. Then you have like I have my mystery suspense side, or I have some books where I'll have some dark elements to it, and that's just straight. There's nothing autobiographical there. It's just
It's
you know,
life. But in this, it's
yeah.
amazing how, as a writer, life gives you so much content.
Yeah, well, what's funny is, so I had a conversation, and not to veer off, but I had a conversation with my brother the other day, and I was like, so one of my favorite authors is Tammy Hogue. She's a mystery suspense
Okay.
author. Um, and you have certain authors who, when you hear their name, you associate a particular genre with,
Okay.
you know. And I was like, well, I don't know how do it's the question of branding, right?
Mm.
And trying to brand now because um I write from relationship drama, I write mystery suspense. I have an erotic thriller with Homewrecker and Eye for an Eye. I had the Chronicles of Mateo series, um, and I'm now working on a really funny. It's kind of taking me back to relationship drama, but it's a really funny, crazy story novel. So how do you brand that? So when people think Dwayne S. Joseph, you know, how do you brand that? That's a that's a challenge that I'm trying to figure out
It is a
now.
challenge, but that is definitely another topic that we need to tackle. So it sounds like it's Dwayne S. Joseph multi-talented. So when people say your name, they don't only associate it with YA comedy. They don't only associate it with romance. They associate it with, wow, he's written in so many genres. I can name something from this genre, this genre, this
Right,
genre, and I know who he is. So Dwayne S. Joseph multi-talented can do it all.
right. I did get a good idea of potentially maybe I'll do some things in D. Joseph only. So a certain genre will be just D. Joseph.
Okay, yeah.
No, so there's something that, I may in the future maybe do something like that.
I
Um,
saw somebody, and I can't remember this author's name, but on Facebook, they had done a post and they said that they were finally coming out because they have used a pen name for so long that they
right.
were coming out and using
Yeah,
their own name. I was like, okay, well, that sounds familiar.
yeah,
But also because they were doing like romance under their pen name, and then now that they're coming out under their name, they're actually doing a different genre under their own name. And so yeah, I mean, I think a lot of authors actually do that.
I thought about using a pen name. I was going to do that, for the Mateo series because I said, I don't want someone, a younger reader, and the Mateo series isn't just for young readers, but I don't want,
Mm,
a young reader to enjoy that and then go back looking for some of my other work and they find homewrecker, you
okay.
know, or betrayal, or but what's different now versus years ago is that social media, um, it's this is another thing. Now it's like you almost have to sell yourself,
Hmm.
um, and it's like I for one, I personally hate the camera, so um, you will not find me as one of those people that's like doing dances in front of the camera,
Right.
or I don't really have the time to set up my phone and capture me writing, or take my phone and make a funny face and do a post, or I don't know. It works for a lot of people, and I understand that's kind of what you have to do now. So if you do a pen name, you know, it's you do a pet name that but then you have to get that. How do you get traction under that name?
Right.
People have to get to know that
Right.
pen, right? So that's why I opted not to do it. But um, it's it's just different. I mean, years
It
ago, I
is.
remember when I first started, there was an author, Zane, and
Oh
no one knew
yeah.
what Zane looked like. And Zane
Right.
could put out book after
I
book.
still don't know what she looks like, but I know she finally
I
showed
met
her
Zane.
picture, but
Yeah,
I
I
still
met
don't know what
Zane.
she looks like.
But you could do that, and
Yeah.
there's that mystique, right? Of
Hmm.
no one knows what Zane looks like, but everyone is waiting for her erotic fiction.
Exactly. Now, would Zane still be able to be as popular now as she was then in in a new age? Because we didn't have social media back then when she was
Right,
around.
right. And you know what was nice about not having social media is it kept a mystery. You
It
didn't,
did. Most definitely.
even if you look at stars today, right? It's almost like you know everything about them,
Yep.
and it was nice to not know, because then you wanted to know more, so did more research, and
Hmm.
now it's like, yeah, okay, it's just,
Exactly.
you know everything,
Hmm.
and people put everything, and I just,
Everything.
it's I'm probably sounding
Everything.
like, probably sounding old right now, but you know,
Yeah, no, social media it can be a great thing, but it's a hindrance to a lot of people who don't know how to use it properly. They are, like you said, they're putting everything, any and everything on there that, like, some people, I mean, some things, guys, are personal.
right,
Everyone don't need to know everything.
right,
Um,
right, and they do, they put everything, and I just, and like I said, this is not a knock on people, on anyone who does it. Um, I if I were comfortable and loved the camera, maybe I would do it. I'd probably have more sales and things like that if I did it. But I don't have the desire. I don't have the time.
it's
Um,
funny you
to
said
do
that
it.
too, because that's actually was going to be my one of my posts for this week. Is that something that I'm going to challenge myself to do? Because I am just like you, like, well, I'm not gonna say just like it. I'm an introvert, right? So even me doing this is stepping outside of my comfort zone. But I love being an author. I love all things writing. I love learning about editing, publishing, all of the things, right? And I love talking to other authors. So even this is getting out of my comfort zone, but I am going to, because I don't like being in front of the camera either. But I am going to try to spend like take 30 minutes to an hour out of my time, or even if it's like 5 or 10 minutes a day, and just try to get in front of the camera and talk about something that enjoy.
Right,
What
right,
made me fall in love with writing? What made me fall in love with reading? Why did I write my book?
right,
Why did I start my bit? You know what I'm saying? Just to try to get out of my comfort zone a little bit more so that people can know and understand where all these posts are coming from and who's
right,
doing it and why. Why
right.
should I care? Why should I buy your book? So that's something I'm gonna do to challenge myself, this week, because I'm like you. I don't like being in front of the camera either, but
I
I'm
have to
gonna
do
try
the
something
same.
different.
I have to do the same challenge. And it's funny. Sometimes I think about it and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna
Yep.
sit down, but I'm just gonna talk about. But then I get in my head and I'm like, well, who wants to listen to me just random talk about something, And then
I
and
bet
it's like,
somebody will.
I know
It's gonna be that one person, and then
I
next thing you
know,
know, it'll be two, then it'll be three, and I'm like, oh,
um,
yeah, there's my audience. That's who
yeah,
I needed. So
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
try it, and we're gonna see. Um, okay, so how has fatherhood changed the kind of stories you want to tell? Has it shifted the characters you create or the messages you embed in your work?
It hasn't changed what I write, um, but it's given me more depth
Okay,
when it comes to the characters because I was writing stories, but like if I go back and look at my some of my stories now from way back, whether it's how they dealt with the kids or how things were handled in the marriage, and I want to write it again, rewrite it now, um, my perspective on certain things is
right.
very different, and going from a young parent, young to an older parent, an older husband, an older now there's so many things you said I would never do, I would never this, never that, then you do, and so it's definitely shaped the content and the depth of what I write now. It's I think it helps to for any author, life itself, um, it helps to make your writing uh, more realistic
Yeah.
and relatable. Everyone can see themselves in it because they've been
Hmm.
through it. Um, so that's how it shaped it. As far as the characters themselves, um, when I started, my kids were small, and now they're older. So I never really changed anything
Okay.
content wise because of them. I never had to. They weren't reading my stuff before. So, but it really it comes down to the depth of the characters themselves.
Okay. When you think about legacy, what is one thing you think, or what is one thing you hope most that your children will carry forward in their own families one day?
Um, Forward ever, backward never.
Okay.
And then my daughter and I just got my middle child. We just got father-daughter tattoos 3 weeks ago on our forum, and it's sink or swim.
Okay.
And I wrote sink, so sink is in my handwriting, swim is in her handwriting. It was
Oh,
actually her idea. She came to me and said she wanted to get that because ever since she was small, and for all of them, but she took it, really embraced it. I've always said, hey, it's sink or swim. What are you going to do? So when it came down to schoolwork or things were hard, and what are you going to do? Are you going to, uh, are you going to sink or swim? Are you going to fight through it and maintain? And I would always say there's no option. Sinking is not an option.
right,
Um, you have to swim.
right.
No matter how hard it is, you have to swim. So um, it's the resilience that
Hmm.
I want them to have. As far as what they decide to do with their lives, um, they have to live their lives and make their
Right.
decisions and find their own paths. I'm here to help and give information and advice and things of that nature. But it's really comes down to teaching them that resilience that they
Yeah.
have to have, because the generation now is a little different,
Yeah.
and um, that resilience is an important
Hmm.
quality to have now, and it's you know not all of them have it, and you have to. It's because times will get tough.
Right.
You know, the seasons happen at different stages of life, no matter the age, right? And
Hmm.
and again, it's what are you gonna do?
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, there's no option. Like failing is not an option, and succeeding doesn't mean that you have to be a millionaire. You have to be the succeeding is just, did I face that challenge? Did I overcome it? Keep in and just keep going on, and
Right.
that's success.
Yep.
So that would be those two things: the forward ever, backwards never, because my dad passed that on to me. So I, and I've passed that on to them, and then sink or swim would be the other.
Awesome. Those are great lessons. Um, how do you personally maintain your mental and emotional balance as a father, author, and man navigating everything at once?
Um, one of my best friends always asks me that. I just do it. I've been doing it so long that um I don't know, like I've been I read all the time, I write all the time, I go to the gym, uh I work, I write, I have things going on at home. I don't know, it's just life. I don't know, it's you just
It's
do it.
ingrained in you.
Yeah, you just do it. Like I can't imagine just not going to the gym, or I can't
Mhm.
imagine not sitting and when I'm eating my dinner or eating food and not grabbing a book and having it in front of me reading. um you know Thankfully, I'm one of those people that I can put my phone down.
Okay.
I don't like to be, I'm not tied to my phone. So when I read um I read paperbacks. I don't read
Okay.
on my phone or tablet. I like the feel of a book. So I go to Barnes and Nobles, I buy books. But I don't know, I just do it. And I'm sure you do the same thing. We all do. It's just life. It's just who we are. If you don't do it, then what are you gonna do? Um, it's to me, it's wasted time, right? If you you know it's just wasted time, and you have responsibilities at home. I'm not one of those that sits at home and I'll do the cooking and the cleaning, but that's because I want my daughters to see a man that does those things, and I
Right.
want my son to be a man that does those things.
Right.
So I do those, and you do everything else. Just like I've seen my dad do those things. So I guess because I've seen him do it, it's just normal. It's just that's what we do.
And that's the important thing about parenthood, fatherhood. This when you're setting those good examples, and those are things that you're passing down to your children so that they can do it too. So if your dad had not have started those great examples with you and setting the bar, that's
Yeah,
why it's so important.
yeah. I've seen my dad work, play soccer. He went to night school when I was a kid, when he was going to college, because they had me at 19. He hung out. He did it all. So that's just kind of what I know.
Love those great examples, those great mentorships. The great that's really good. It's really important. Um, just a few more.
Yeah, yeah.
Without going further than you're ready to go, is there a season of your life that required the most healing and what helped you move through it?
Um, there've been multiple seasons. In marriage, you have multiple seasons that you go through. As a parent, you have seasons of
Hmm.
growth, of saying, you get to a point where, you discipline, and then you say, okay, now I have to change up how I'm disciplining. Um, because you have to realize I come from a different generation, and you also have to realize, like, hey, you have to think about the kid's age, right?
Hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah, they're only 13. Maybe I can, you know, uh ease up a little bit, or
Hmm.
um, I had a season in my life where I was 19, um, and I got something called trigeminal neuralgia, which it's one of your main facial nerves. It's something that typically happens to people in their 50s. It's basically a blood vessel pressing on the nerve, causing the nerve to seize. I could be talking to you, and you would never know I was in extreme pain. They call it one of the worst pains known to man. I got it when I was
Hmm.
19. I was in a singing group, and we had a manager. We were going to the studio, and um, one day I made an egg sandwich. I bit into it. I spit it out because of the pain. Thought it was, wisdom teeth. Got those taken out. Pain didn't go away. Found out it was neuralgia. I had it from 19 until I was 27. I took medicine 4 times a day, every day, just to be able to maintain. It never got rid of the pain. I mean, I could do this and then the next minute do it and I couldn't move because of the pain. Or I could walk and the wind
Mm.
would blow and it didn't matter if I was in the middle of the street, I had to stop moving until the pain subsided. So that season of my life, I think was probably one of the most difficult because from that, now when I was 27, I had major surgery. Went
Okay.
through my skull. They put a sponge in between the blood vessel and the nerve. I went in surgery in pain, woke up, ate some ice chips. First time since I was 19 that I'd been able to do anything without pain.
Wow.
So, but because of that, I had to learn for a number of years after, um, just just my own who I really was, um, my own security itself, and being my own insecurity. Because when you have something like that, it's kind of like a disability,
Mm-hmm.
and it affects. I always wonder what would have happened had I never gotten it. I would have probably like definitely still been in a group, but during the '90s doing the R&B and all that stuff. But um, I would say that season was that season. It took a while for me to move past that, um, and adjust after the pain was gone,
Okay.
and the lingering effects that it took on me. In learning to open up, because I mean, when you're 19 and you're singing in a group and you're singing in clubs with your group, you're pretty outgoing. And then from
Right.
there, I learned to kind of be more reserved, which probably one of the reasons why I hate being in front of the camera at this point. um, so I would say that was one of the toughest seasons that I had to go through. And then of course life,
Right.
life.
So with that season that you were referring to, was there something that uh you specifically did that helped you move past it,
No,
or it was just,
it
something you had to go just went through?
yeah, it took time, and it took having issues with, whether it's in marriage, whether it's with kids, whether it's with family, whether it just it requires self-reflection.
Okay.
It requires listening to people when they're constantly tell you things, and then you have to self-reflect. And
Hmm.
it just happens with, as we get older, we mature.
Right.
Hopefully we mature.
Right.
Um, and you get older and you start looking back, and you realize, you know, oh yeah, I was a little stupid then, and so it just comes with time.
Okay. Well, Dwayne, I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much for showing up so openly and honestly. Your story is exactly the kind that reminds us why these conversations matter. Could you please tell our viewers where they can connect with you and support your work?
Yeah. So first, I appreciate just even having the conversation.
Of
Um,
course.
it really is an honor you know, even though I'm not sitting there with you, but to be there and having this conversation. So I really appreciate that. As far as where to find me, Instagram, TikTok. It's at Dwayne S. Joseph Writes, and that's WITES. Um, I have a Facebook, but I don't really.
Same here.
I'm always deactivating it. I don't really. I don't know. I don't like Facebook. But it would say Instagram and TikTok for sure.
Okay.
Those are the two main places.
Dwayne, thank you for letting our viewers know where they can connect with you and support your work. To our Beyond the Page Media community, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this conversation so it can reach someone who needs it. Until next time, keep writing, keep rising, and remember, your story matters.